Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player to ever live. He is, in my opinion. He's left an unforgettable mark on basketball and on the league, on the world. Like, his influence reached so far beyond basketball and not in basketball that he's built a mythos around himself that many players and people that don't even play basketball look up to. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm Sean Laird, and I'm here with my buddy Hudson.
Yup.
And we're going to be talking about Michael Jordan and his influence on the game in general. So one of the points we're going to touch on is his brand and how it reached throughout the world. And I know you have some Jordan brand.
Yeah, I got
clothes.
a couple of Jordan shoes. 2 of my sweatshirts are Jordan brand. Like, it is the influence is definitely massive. It's crazy.
And he created the influence throughout, like, his game, like, playing physically, like, one of the greatest players to ever grace the court. And his brand not only made his mythos greater because everybody would wear him, and it reached out worldwide, but it also opened a new avenue for basketball players because he was like the first major brand deal for basketball shoes in the league. So that opened up a new avenue for players to get their shoes with a brand deal with Nike, Adidas, Puma. So many players now have shoe brand lines like Kevin Durant. I've been buying his shoes, my favorite shoes, and this is all happening because of Michael Jordan. Do you have like shoe brand that you usually buy?
Yeah. So I mean, like I said before, I got a couple of Jordans in there, and then I have like what you're talking about with like how he kind of started that player shoe kind of revolution, right? A ton of my shoes that I have are all player basketball shoes. The first pair of basketball shoes I ever got were Giannis's. I got some Giannis Immortalities. Now I have, Kyrie's, Kawhi's. I got D Wade shoes. I got Jason Tatum shoes. Like, we really got a lot of player shoes for sure. So the impact is definitely felt, at least for me.
Awesome. And another point that I like to bring up is like his play on the court is what like pushed this mythos along. You got like in the Last Dance documentary, they mention all of these things that he's done, like the flu game, which he woke up the day of he was playing the Utah Jazz Game 4.
Yeah.
And he felt sick. Like he had the flu. And he went out and gave one of the greatest performances in playoff history with the flu, or flu-like symptoms. And, like, people today and players today, like, you still hear people, oh, I'm going to have my flu game. Oh, I'm not feeling good. I'm going to go out there and play hard and have my flu game. Like, stories like that, and it opens your eyes to, like, how great he truly was.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, like, you had... before Jordan, you had Dr. J, right? There's been good, influential players before. But, the level that Jordan reached was absolutely insane. And, you wouldn't have this whole, like the whole Be Like Mike thing in, like, the 90s. And the shoe and the branding and all of that without incredible play. And I feel like a certain level, at least from what I've seen, obviously, it was a little before my time. Back when my boys from Chicago were actually semi-decent. And, it's like some of the stuff I've seen, like you got the shots, right? There's so many things he's done that are just so iconic that it kind of helped him create this impact, create this brand.
What I think is cool is, like, in The Last Dance, it really shows, like, his impact on the team. Like, it shows how competitive he was and how, like, driven he was to make his team better and to not only make them better to benefit him, but he wanted them to win as well. That's why he was so competitive.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's a different kind of facet of impact, right? Like, not only did he impact people outside of the game, but inside the game, he impacted his teammates, and he impacted the future of the game too. Would we have seen someone like Kobe Bryant without Michael Jordan? I'm not sure.
And players today still like try to emulate his game. Like one of my favorite players nowadays is Anthony Edwards. Like
very MJ like for sure.
Like we were watching the United States play Germany in the World Cup.
That was a fun game.
And Anthony Edwards did his Michael Jordan's fadeaway, and all I could think of was, wow, that's Michael Jordan right there.
Yeah,
like people still like
crazy.
try to emulate that, which is insane. And going back to the Last Dance documentary,
Yeah.
Jordan went to Phil Jackson and asked, "Hey, can you handle Dennis Rodman?" Because he was seen as like a controversial player, but he knew that he would work his butt off to make the team better, and that's something Jordan enjoyed having around. He needed to have around to make a successful team, and Dennis Rodman was a piece, like a big piece to their finals run, especially their last one.
For sure.
And he would get the rebounds. 20 rebounds without any points in a game was absurd. Like,
yeah, I remember, like, I still see that stat line, like, on Instagram sometimes. It's like...
yeah. And Jordan just loved how much he competed. And it didn't matter to him, like, all that controversy outside, as long as his teammates would compete and try to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. That is a... bringing up Michael Jordan's teammates, right? We're talking about who is the best basketball player of all time and also the greatest basketball player of all time. And I think when it comes to impact and stuff like that, I think Jordan for sure is that number one guy. But I do want to bring up there's the classic LeBron or Jordan debate, right? And want to throw in a little counterpoint, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, when you're talking about Jordan, right? People like to bring up the teammates that he had, right? He had Scottie Pippen and he had Dennis Rodman, and for every single championship he won, he had Pippen, right?
Yes.
And Rodman was for
the second three-peat.
The second three-peat.
What, the first one he had Steve Kerr, right?
Steve
Kerr in the first.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
One of the greatest coaches to ever coach basketball.
Yep.
Like 3-point specialist, he clutched up in the finals to help push MJ and the team. And one of the great points is in the Last Dance, Steve Kerr took that shot because Michael Jordan trusted him. He said, "Steve, I want you to take this shot." Yeah. And Michael Jordan had the ball and passed it to him, and Steve Kerr hit that shot to send him to the championship. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's leadership right there for sure. Like being able to being able to trust your guys like that. Obviously, like you're the superstar, but to be able to put that trust in their hands is huge for the team dynamic, for like a bunch of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
And back to your point with LeBron, he had some great players play with him as well, which is awesome to see. Like great players coming together.
Yeah.
But what I think Jordan has done better than LeBron is make that team. You know what I'm saying? He really gelled the team together better than LeBron.
Yeah.
When LeBron would bring players in, is more like individuals. If that makes sense. They weren't necessarily a team.
I think I get what you're saying, yeah. I mean, I think you could also argue that there's like a lot of variety to the teams he's played with. I mean, he's shown like he's won with like a big three. He's won with a almost nobody Cavs team, right? And now he's going like with the Lakers, with AD, with Austin Reeves, and he just won the in-season tournament. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think I just wanted to ask, right? Obviously, your paper is about Michael Jordan, and I think we both agree that Michael Jordan is the most influential player of all time. But do you think he is the greatest player of all time from just a straight basketball perspective?
From a straight basketball perspective, I think Jordan is the best, especially skill-wise.
That's fair.
He's unmatched for his time, and I think today. Like, he was doing things that he's people haven't seen before. he's won dunk contests, flying through the air. That's why Be Like Mike. Everybody wanted to fly through the air and be like Mike.
Yeah.
That's where they got the Jumpman logo from. That cultural icon throughout the league, throughout the world.
Yeah.
Like, all of that. His, like, gravity-defying, like, finishing, his dribbling, pull-up game.
For sure.
That's why I think he's the greatest. And also his competitive spirit. Like, very competitive.
And I do agree. I do think that, I mean, if we're looking at stats, right? If we're looking at stats, 2 3-peats is crazy. If we're, like, looking at ranks, 2 3-peats.
6-0 in the NBA Finals.
6-0 in the NBA Finals, 2 3-peats is kind of crazy.
He also won a national championship in college, which I think is a big part of being the greatest of all time.
That's fair. And then if we're looking at stats, right? I mean, throughout his career, he averaged pretty crazy numbers, right? I mean,
50% from the field is almost unheard of. For
that
an entire career.
That is insane.
30.1 points per game.
Is this entire career? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 50 from the field. 33 from 3 in an era where 3-point shooting really wasn't big is pretty solid as well. But even just looking at points per game, I mean, 30 points per game across an entire career is kind of insane. And with the, is that 2.6 steals? Yeah, that's crazy.
2.6 steals is absurd, especially like making an all defensive team almost like for 8 years.
So I think at this point in the LeBron Jordan debate, like at this point in the LeBron Jordan debate, LeBron, I think it's generally agreed upon that Jordan has better numbers than LeBron. Like if we're talking straight basketball, Jordan as a player is better than LeBron.
Yeah.
Right? But if we say, let's say LeBron, I'm forgetting where I saw this, but I think LeBron, in terms of the majority of advanced statistics, is almost at Jordan's level,
like efficiency,
right?
Like efficiency levels?
Efficiency, but even some stuff like offensive rating, defensive rating, and some of the more complicated stats that they have out there. Advanced stats, yeah. He's maybe at 98% of Jordan's level when it comes to those, right? Okay. So if you have a player who has who is playing at 98% of the best player of all time, right? If we're talking just skill, the most skilled, the best player of all time. But he does it for, I mean, how long has LeBron been in the year for? 20 years,
yeah.
I think it's really a question of longevity at this point, right? How long does LeBron have to go before that outweighs the Jordan thing? And honestly, like I'm a big Jordan guy for sure, but I think like if he continues to average like 26 points per game this year, I mean that's unheard of for a player in year 20. I mean, how many players even get to year 20 in the first place, right?
I think what also adds to his longevity is the fact that he did not play in college. But that's why I think Jordan has that edge over LeBron. Because Jordan was Naismith award winner, which means he was the greatest, the best player in college that year. His final year, junior season at UNC, which is his final season before he declared for the draft. And he won a national championship. So I also weigh that national championship because it is, you have to be perfect throughout the March Madness tournament to win it. Like, many teams haven't made it. Like, they had to go through, like, Phi Slamma Jamma with Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler to win that.
That's a rough team that's a rough team. But it is also obviously not, like, all the players there aren't at their peak yet, right? Yeah. So if we're talking about development, like, certain players, I mean, you can name names like I'm blanking right now, but obviously there's players who weren't the best in college who actually went crazy in the NBA, and there's been players who have been very good in college that haven't been good in the NBA.
Yeah,
right. So I do think they're very different games though, and if we're gonna talk about stuff like like collegiate achievements and things like that, I mean, there's so many other players. I mean, AD has won like a ton at almost every level of basketball that he's played in. Same thing can be said about Larry Bird.
Bird.
Was it Larry who won
national championship with Illinois State?
Yeah. Oh, and Kareem too.
Kareem was absurd.
Kareem won
college.
at literally every level
Every
he
single-
played. High school, college, like literally.
Pretty sure he was 4-0 in national championships back in the day.
Yeah, it's absurd.
They had to ban dunking because he was dunking it.
That's actually crazy.
So.
Banning dunking as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But to sum it up,
Yeah.
I still believe Michael Jordan is the greatest because he played at the college level at the highest level and NBA at the highest level.
Yeah.
And people have, even coaches, players, have said he's the greatest player to ever touch a basketball that there's ever been. And I think the stats back it up, and I think that his legacy backs it up, and that mythos around him.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
And thank you for coming, man.
Yeah.
That was a good podcast. And
There we go. Bang.
there we go. Jordan's the GOAT.
All right.